Hi, I'm Stu Mitchell, and welcome to my Watershed moment. It's been a while since I've done my last talk, and there's been a reason why. I have gone through, my family has gone through our own watershed moment, and it's something that I wanted to share, and I've been hesitant to share because I'm going to have some opinion, which is something that, I haven't really done a lot of giving my opinion on hot topics in these talks. But listen, this is my story, so I'm going to give it. And I think the thing with opinion is I've listened to a lot of them, and I respect people's right to have an opinion. Of course, I don't agree with a lot of opinions, right? And you don't have to agree with my opinion. That's not what I'm asking you to do. Just respect my right to have an opinion. Listen to my story, and it's from the heart, and hopefully I'll get through it all right. But I just really wanted to share this because I know there was so many people out there that were concerned and praying for us, and I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about what we went through as a family and how we're coming through on the other side, which is the most important part. So uh, let's go back to the beginning of December. Myself, my wife, my son, and I'll stick there. We all got COVID. My son Max, who lives at home with us. Max is 17. Max had seizure disorder, still takes some medication for it. Thank God he hasn't had them in a couple of years. And, the activity shows that he's actually doing very well with that. But me and my wife both were vaccinated, both, two shots. And we decided, Max was 17, he was younger. He had some other issues. So we decided not to get him vaccinated. So we weren't very concerned about it because, he's young, he's healthy. And in a lot of the statistics would tell you that, a lot of these kids are asymptomatic, or so I thought, and or it's very mild. So we went on for a while there. I lost my smell and taste. My wife did too. Neither of us got very sick at all. Maybe a little bit tired, maybe a little bit scratchy throat. But Max started coughing and really wasn't himself. And I wasn't overly concerned, but my wife, thank God, she was saying something's not right, something's not right. So we went on for a while, and we're monitoring him, and he continued to struggle. At night he was not himself. During the day he didn't have his appetite, and that's unusual for Max. And so we decided, and we sent him, or we took him to get checked out, and it was just a quick cursory check. And they looked him over and basically said, we think as long as they're clear, we think everything's all right. So we felt okay. We went home, and we continued to watch him. And his fever kept spiking, and it would go down, and we'd give him some ibuprofen and some Advil. And he just continued to struggle. So we decided, okay, we're going to take him. We called our doctor. We're going to take him down to the local hospital here and get some tests done, get a chest x-ray and stuff. So I got him ready and took him. And when we got in there, his oxygen saturation was down to 86 sitting there, which, if you know about this COVID and COVID pneumonia, that's a sign that you probably should be hospitalized. So they put us right in the emergency room to do a full workup of everything. So chest X-rays, labs, which is a challenge with Max. Max was incredible through this whole thing, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But labs have always been challenging. In fact, when he was younger, we used to have to take him to the hospital to get the labs done. We couldn't even get it done at a regular clinic because we'd have to bring in multiple people and get him on a bed and hold him down. But thank God he's much better than that now, and So we did all that, and comes back. He had acute COVID and bilateral pneumonia, which means pneumonia in both lungs. So uh, they need to admit him. And I'm trying to talk to the emergency room doctors, and they're in and out, and God bless them, they were overwhelmed. But I'm not getting a lot of information. But I'm thinking that doesn't sound good to me, but I don't know a whole lot about it. What the treatments are and what they're going to do. So after I think 13 hours, they finally decide they're going to transfer us down to Danville, to Geisinger and Danville. And at first I was a little bit taken back to go that far, especially in an ambulance with them. But thank God we did, because it was the right place to be, and God worked everything out in our favor. So, the ambulance came to transport us, and it was tough. Sorry, he was cramping up, and he was nervous. He didn't know what was going on. He's autistic, so me and him started to really bond very closely. And so we get there, and they get us in. They get us in a room, and good people there admitting us. Middle of the night, I think it was 1 in the morning, and I start talking to them, and they've got the full gear on, and isolation gear with the oxygen coming to them, and they're trying to make sure they don't spread it throughout the children's hospital where we went, because obviously there's a lot of sick kids there, and they couldn't afford to get them sick. So it's very kind of a lot going on, a lot to process. It's been many hours, not a lot of sleep, a lot of being scared, and then they start telling me how serious it was. They took him for a CAT scan so they could line it up against the X-rays that were taken at the emergency room, and when you get a chest X-ray, you should see a lot of nice black open airways in there. And Max's X-ray, in fact, one doctor said, "Boy, that's impressive," because it was so white. It was not much black at all. And you know, at this point in time, they start telling me that this is very serious, but he's in the right place. We got a lot of great people here, and we're going to do everything we possibly can to aggressively protect your child, protect your child's lungs. And you know, I started to just you know it's funny when you need faith the most. And that's what I needed. I needed that faith to believe, in Jesus, to believe in God, to believe that He was directing the doctors, to believe Jesus is working on healing him on His behalf. And sometimes when you're broken down that much, especially when it's your kid like that, that's where all those prayers and of all the people that we're praying for us, our family, our friends, churches, people we didn't even know. That's what lifts up Max. That's what lifted me up. That's what kept me going. Uh, the first night they regular oxygen cannula, which doesn't really have a lot of titration, they call it, which is forced air coming in, was not bringing up his oxygen level. So they went with a high flow nasal cannula, it's called. So it's an oxygen cannula that goes in your nose, and they add some pressure to help pressurize it. And after the first night there, and then him waking up the next day, it really wasn't getting his oxygen where it needed to be. And, his lungs were full of the pneumonia. And, COVID pneumonia is different than regular pneumonia. Regular pneumonia many times is very localized in a spot or a couple of spots. COVID pneumonia is everywhere. And COVID pneumonia also causes an incredible amount of inflammation and swelling everywhere. So, they had started some steroids for him to try to get some of the inflammation out. And they were doing a high flow nasal cannula. And then they came to me and said, we're going to have to use a BiPAP mask, which is just like, it's like a mask you would see with the sleeping machine hooked to the high flow. And I said, okay, and here the whole time I'm not thinking that Max is going to be able to handle any of this, the IVs, the nasal cannula, the mask. And he was just like supernaturally compliant and good. And if you know anything about autism. If you know anything about our son, if he's got a lot of different things where, he's sensitive to things like even just wrinkles and stuff. In fact, we became the wrinkle police while we were there, and the staff was so gracious and worked with us, like even wrinkles and bed sheets and the nurses and doctors gowns, we had to get out, and they were great working with us. But so we put them on the BiPAP mask, and they were all the way up to 80% oxygen, and I think it was 60 liters of flow going in, and that was the most they could do in a regular room. And then they came to me and said, we're gonna move them to the ICU, and we feel like they can do more there. This is as far as we can go here. And I can tell you, I mean, my world just was crumbling around me. This is why I've held off for a month doing this. But, of course, I was like, whatever we need to do to try to protect my son, to save my son, and he was in the woods. They talk about being out of the woods. He was in the woods, meaning, things could have went a lot of different ways. We got to the ICU, and they were very honest with me and told me, it's serious. We got the right people. They explained everything along the way. And, I'll tell you, my experience with the staff at Geisinger, Danville, the doctors, the nurses, the respiratory therapists, the maintenance staff, the life team, just incredible, just wonderful people. The longer we were there, I think they fell in love with Max the way a lot of people do. And of course, that makes me fall in love with them, in the way that God designs it, right? That God kind of, that agape kind of love where you just care about people. And it was such an amazing thing to see how much they cared. And then I started to think about a lot of things people say about people in the medical profession, like they have some hidden agenda or something. These people had no agenda other than saving my son and helping me to try to be as comfortable as possible. So, we were in isolation there and in the ICU, one room, commode in the corner with a little curtain to pull around it. No shower, no anything like that. But it was me and Max, 16 days together. My wife couldn't come in, which, I think was harder on her than me being there because I was there. I was with him. And, he wouldn't eat. He was on the BiPAP mask there for a couple of days during the day, even not just at night. And, he had lost 20 pounds, and they started talking about, if he doesn't start eating, and if he doesn't start having his lungs clear out, and his oxygen saturation doesn't go up, they were talking about incubating him, which means a breathing tube, which, is not good, right? There's a lot of negative things that can happen from there. So, all those prayers. And I tell you, other than when the doctors and nurses came in that room, it was just me, Max, and Jesus in that room. And, I think, I can't remember if it was 3 or 4 nights I just didn't sleep, knelt by his bed, prayed, anointed him with oil. And at one point in time, he was sitting there with the mask on, and he was just sitting up, obviously very bored, very upset, not feeling good. And I was crying, and he started rubbing my head and said, "It's okay, Daddy, it's okay." As much as I loved it, it just broke my heart. So, but it was okay. He knew it because he's very sensitive to a lot of things. He's also sensitive to the Holy Spirit. He's also sensitive to the things that he knows God can do for him. So they came in. They said, "We want to start Remdesivir as, we're going to start that. We're doing the steroid intravenously. We're going to start some more aggressive breathing treatments." And I said, "If this is the best course you believe for him," and they did. We started it. and things started to turn around. It wasn't fast. It was little by little. It was inch by inch. But slowly, his saturation started getting better. We were able to get him off of the BiPAP mask during the day and onto regular nasal, high flow nasal cannula, which was just such a blessing because then he could eat. And, I was doing everything I could to try to make the hospital food as good as possible, having people bring snacks and stuff down. I tell you, people that brought stuff down, my friend Jim Benny just day one had brought us, things you don't think about, but just packs of fresh, clean underwear, pants for Max to wear, Capri Suns, which now uh, Max says the famous Jimmy with the Capri Suns he gives us. And we have plans that once Max gets the second vaccination, we're going to Cooper's with him. Just, this is the things that you don't think about, but that's what God wants us to do, right? That's being a true friend. My family bringing stuff down, them calling and asking friends, anybody was just doing so much. I don't want to leave anybody out because it was amazing the things that people were doing for us, and the prayers, the real prayers, not just the lip service, but the real prayers. They started to turn around. He started to eat. His oxygen got better. We got to the 16 days in ICU and isolation, and finally, thank God, my wife could come down, and that mom was there with us, and I was able to go home and take a shower. Which, if anybody knows me, I'm kind of a little bit of a freak when it comes to being clean. So, but I didn't even think about it. I'm sure people around me thought about it, but that many days without doing anything other than just kind of cleaning up in the sink. But things started to turn around. They started to get better, and then finally, I think it was on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, they moved us to a regular room. He was able to get up and start walking a little bit with some help. Things started to turn around. I was able to run out and get us, some things that he wanted, some silly things. You don't think about it. Some Denny's, some Perkins, some Cracker Barrel. Uh, my mom, grandma's famous food. Grandma and grandpa sent down the chicken Alfredo, which he just loves. And then finally, we got that great news that we waited so long for, and able to bring home, have Christmas, even though it was on New Year's, see his brothers, see his grandparents, and I can't tell you how thankful I am. Since then, I've had him doing the treadmill every day. He doesn't like it, but it started off real slow, building those lungs back up, right? You got to clear them out. I did get him vaccinated, and he's getting a second shot, and it's a little less than 2 weeks now. I believe those vaccines save lives. That's my opinion. I know there's a lot of varying opinions out there, but I've seen too much with my own eyes not to believe it. I'm never, ever. I'm my son's advocate. Nobody else is. Me and my wife, right? He can't make that decision for himself. So I made the decision at first not to get him vaccinated. You can't imagine how that made me feel sitting there next to him going through that. And the doctors and the nurses were telling me, listen, you didn't do anything wrong. You made a decision that maybe I even would have made in your situation. But you still, as a parent, something changes inside of you when you see that, like, your kid's not only sick, but you're saying, like, there's potential that they might not make it. And, I wasn't too forthcoming with a lot of that information to everybody at first because, I needed people's prayers just to bolster us up and to help us. So, this is hard for me to get through, but the moral of the story is Max is doing great. He's back to school. He's healthy. Our family is strong. I'm dealing with some of the stuff, anybody that knows me, knows I'm very open. I've dealt with, some breakdowns in the past with some acute anxiety and different things. And, quite frankly, this triggered some things that were very, very hard for me to deal with. But I do believe that part of getting better is talking about it, and that's what I'm hoping. Part of this is, is big time for me and cathartic for me. But I hope it helps people understand, the power first and foremost of Jesus in prayer. Just because I had the remdesivir treatment for my son, and just because we got him vaccinated doesn't mean that we don't believe in Jesus and his power to heal. I believe 100% that Jesus healed him, that he worked everything in his favor. But I also believe that there's good people in the medical profession that do good things. And to me, they're heroes, you know. I'm wearing this shirt here that my wife got me and my son about, you know, every hero needs a sidekick. Because one thing Matt started saying is, you know, Max always says these famous things that become something that we say forever is, you know, he kept calling me a great superhero for helping him. I'm gonna call him a great superhero. And you know, I'm the sidekick. He's the superhero that dealt with what he dealt with the way he dealt with it. But, you know, it is true. There's great people out there. Please just don't discount uh, the medical side of things because you think that, oh, well, it means that I don't believe in the power of healing, and it means I don't have faith. Oh, it's don't let political anything get in the way of it. Listen, these politicians are what they are. I'm not going to say a lot, but at the end of the day, it's about you, your family, your kids, your parents, your aunts, your uncles, your grandparents being healthy, happy, and finding a way to be together. And you know, the isolation was the other thing that, in my mind, while I was isolated with Max in that room, I tell you what, that isolation is damaging. It's hurtful. So we've got to find a way to get back together and not to let the differences of the past keep us apart, because that isolation is terrible. It's not how we're designed to function as humans. But you know, don't discount. And if you have children, understand you're their advocate. I'm not telling you got to do what I did. I'm just telling you to listen to my story. It's from the heart. I don't have any motives other than I wanted to share with my friends, family, people that wanted to listen to this, and just tell you kind of my story and where I'm at. So I pray for everyone. I love everyone. God bless you, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you.